Ready to go. Welcome everybody to Growing Good Humans podcast. My name is Lara Barr. I'm the owner and founder of Emerging Educational Consulting. We provide one-to-one mentorship from the beginning to end of the college application process. And one of the ways that we grow good humans is by getting smarter about how to serve our clients and how to take them through that process in a way that's simple, deliberate, and joyful. And today I'm thrilled to have Brittany Cortinas. Are you the director? What is your actual role?
I'm the recruitment coordinator. So I'm the person who gets all of the potential students looking to come to the U of A.
To the SALT program at University of Arizona. So we are delighted to have you today. I didn't want to get your role wrong because I know what you do is really, really important. And I think it's important to us because part of our practice is really serving all students who want to go to college. And I'm really proud of that part of our identity and our practice. And I was actually looking at the mission of the SALT program, and I love this number one principle. It says, Principle 1, every individual lies on a spectrum of neurological diversity, physical ability, and human experience, which grows and changes over time. And that speaks to me so strongly. And I think it's just so important for us as college consultants to have a really strong knowledge of what programs are out there and what kind of students they serve. So do a quick introduction of your amazing self, and then we're going to dive right into questions.
Oh, thank you very much for having me. So my name is Brittany Cortinas. I am the recruitment coordinator for the SALT Center at the University of Arizona. I am a native of Tucson, where the university is located, and I am a graduate of the U of A. So I graduated with a degree in creative writing and a minor in marketing. After leaving the U of A, I went to work for Walt Disney World for a little while. I worked for Geico for a little while before returning to the university with the College of Science, which I really enjoyed. And then about 2 years ago, I realized I had undiagnosed ADHD, which explained a lot about my relationship with school and my college career. It took me about 7 years to graduate because I kind of meandered my way through school and changed my major about 4 times before before eventually being able to graduate. As I was researching about ADHD, I found the SALT Center and fell in love and immediately had to recruit for them and move over here. So I've been here ever since.
I love your personal story. It makes it so meaningful and why you care so much. Can we just dive right into what is the SALT Center? What
Absolutely
are the SALT Center services?
So the SALT Center is academic support for students with mild to moderate learning differences. So we are not a school at the university. We are here to serve University of Arizona students, and we provide 3 main supports. Number 1, every student gets a support specialist to help them with, and they meet with weekly, they meet every week for 30 minutes to help with whatever the student needs. So as they come onto campus trying to navigate the U of A, as they get more comfortable, they work on time management and organization, finding University of Arizona resources, and then really focusing on self-advocacy. So helping students who have a neurodiversity, who are neurodiverse, finding a place on campus and knowing that they can be successful. So a lot of support goes into that. We also do tutoring that is specifically focused for students with learning differences. So all of our tutors are certified to work with students with learning differences. So no one's ever just going to set a book in front of a student with ADHD like myself and just say, read it and tell me what you learned. That's not how most of our students learn. And then also, we do educational technology, so helping students in and out of the classroom with things like note-taking apps, read aloud technology, speech to text, things that help the students who don't just read a textbook and go about their day. So we have parts of our staff specifically dedicated to understanding what's out there and meeting with our students to help them personalize what they get to utilize in class. And then we also offer some community services, wellness services, and psychological services as well.
Wow. Does this program come with a charge?
It does. So we are a fee-for-service program. We actually don't receive any money from the university. We're entirely self-supported. So
Mm.
students, we divide it into lower division and upper division. So freshman and sophomore, it's 3,500 per semester, and that includes all of our services. For upper division students, juniors and seniors, it drops down to 1,700 per semester. Mostly because as we get into those upper level classes, it does become harder for us to find one-on-one tutors. So we always offer drop-in tutoring, and we're always looking for tutors, but in the off chance we can't find a tutor, we don't want to make students pay for that specific service. So if we can find a one-on-one tutor, it's $25 an hour after that. And we do
Okay.
offer a ton of scholarships though.
That's great. I think one of the questions that I was thinking, I have some students I know who are going to be applying. How does the process work? Do you apply? Because in some cases for us, we have students like if they don't get into your program, the school's not going to work. Like they have to have SALT. So what is
Yes.
the order of events to become engaged with the SALT Center?
That's a great question because we get that a lot. So you do have to at least apply to the University of Arizona first. You don't have to wait to be accepted to U of A though. So you can apply to the U of A and then apply to the SALT Center right after. Basically, all of our students, once they've applied, go into a queue because we won't review an application until they've been accepted to the U of A. But it puts them in a queue, and as soon as we find out they've been accepted, they move to the front of the queue and we start reviewing their application. And there is a 3 to 4 week turnaround because we do rolling admissions. So the sooner you get your application in, the sooner you have that answer to that question of, can I be at SALT so that I can be at the university? Which is why I always recommend students get it in as soon as possible. Our application opens 1 month after the University of Arizona's application opens.
Oh, that's great to know. I one of the questions that I have is there are students at the SALT Center limited in the things that they can do at the University of Arizona due to SALT enrollment? How does that
No, and
work?
that's actually my favorite thing to answer is no, they're not limited to anything by being a SALT student. To be honest, most people, most of our students, if you say, "Hey, I'm in the SALT program," most of them will say, "I don't know what that is." So there's no stigma whatsoever to being in our program. Our students can be in our honors program or honors college, excuse me. They can be in hard, fast-paced programs like engineering and science. They can do anything. They just get support from us academically.
And are there students that are not accepted? It
There
dawned on
are.
me. And tell me how do you decide? What criteria?
So I would say there's usually three things that I would normally tell people about why a student might not get into the SALT program. Number one, they applied too late. We tend to get full in about April. For anybody who's thinking about applying this year, because FAFSA stuff's a little weird, we probably won't get full until May or June. So there's still room for students to apply. But normally we fill up about April. So well before that college decision day. Number two is we really focus on a mild to moderate learning difference. So if a student has a little bit higher of a need, perhaps they cannot speak meaningfully for themselves, not that they have to give us their full diagnosis, but they can't support themselves with it. We can't support self advocacy for them, or they need someone taking them to class or being with them on campus. And third, we really focus on learning and attention differences. So students who come in, we understand anxiety is a huge issue in college, but that does tend to be more of an emotional need rather than a learning need. So that we couldn't accept. But if a student has ADHD, which causes intense anxiety, that we can focus on. So
Hmm.
it does have to be a learning or attention difference. They have to be able to manage by themselves on campus and apply within the open time frame.
That is very informative. I think that would bring me to, I imagine, do you require a formal diagnosis and the supporting paperwork, and how recent would that paperwork need to be?
It's a good question. So, no, we actually don't require formal diagnoses.
Oh,
We understand not every student has the option of getting those tests. Not every school offers them, and they can be pretty expensive.
yeah.
So, we will take a student who does not have formal diagnoses, and then for students who do have a formal diagnoses, we want something, whether it's their IEP, 504, or whatever their school utilizes. We would prefer if it's from high school. However, if they don't have anything updated, we don't require new testing. We would just say, hey, provide whatever is the most updated IEP or 504, and then provide whatever your school is currently utilizing. So if your school has a learning like outline for you that includes your diagnoses, challenges to learning, and the support you're utilizing, that's perfect. We're really just looking for those three things. So no, you don't have to have a formal diagnosis, but if you do, getting that paperwork in is something that we do ask for. I will also mention, because we don't not every student can get those diagnoses. And for some students, it is really important for them to get it. It's sometimes just an identity thing. We also work with a public clinic here in Tucson called the ABLE Clinic. They provide all of our therapy that we offer to our students, and they also do testing for everything up to dementia. So if a student is looking to get a diagnosis, they can go through the ABLE Clinic, and while they don't take insurance, it's at a fraction of the cost of what these tests normally cost these students.
Wow, what an
Yeah.
amazing opportunity. And I agree with you. I actually like what you said, that the cost is prohibitive, but for some students, it really is this idea of identity and getting to know themselves in a way that's very data driven, and then
Mhm.
helps give language to, like, here is what I need, here is how I learn. And I think those assessments can sometimes be really helpful. But it sounds like your program helps coach students on being able to do that. That leads me to my next question. Is it sounds like you were not able to attend the SALT program,
I
but
did
if you
not.
had known, you maybe would have. What I'd be curious about, what does a week look like for an active student who's engaged in the SALT Center? Like, how many times are you in the building? What does that look and feel like?
So I will say, first and foremost, the amount of usage depends on how much the student is willing to come in. So number one, they're going to be here at least 30 minutes every week to meet with their student support specialists. So our office is actually really central on campus. You can get to our office pretty much within 10 minutes from anywhere on the U of A campus. And students will come in, meet with their student support specialists for at least 30 minutes, and then go about their day. We also do in our building drop-in tutoring, which is open all day, and we'll have students who come utilize it for 15 minutes to get a set of math problems entered or finished, or they'll come in for 2 hours and just make camp, and get all of their homework done during that time. And sometimes not even speaking to our tutors. They just like knowing someone's there to ask questions. And then we have one-on-one tutoring, which are hour-long appointments with a tutor. So we'll have students, especially freshmen who are coming in, they're entirely new to university life, and they'll meet with their support specialists, and then they'll do tutoring 3 or 4 times a week, an hour-long session. So there are students who are here from open to close, with the exception of going to their classes. And then there's students who utilize us for that half an hour and maybe an hour of tutoring. In addition, we also offer workshops that students can come in and utilize, like how to get a jump start on your writing, how to prepare to take a second language. And so students can also come in for that. And then life after college events, because we know being a neurodiverse student and having to graduate and move into the workforce is also terrifying. So in February, we tend to have a lot more attendance because we do those life after college events during February.
I love that. What do you think? One of the things that I have in my mind about SALT is, people have always said, for students who are on the spectrum, the autism spectrum, that has been a
Mhm.
very successful place. Is it silly? I mean, is it uncomfortable for me to ask in that way? Like,
No.
is this a good place for students who are on the spectrum? And I know, again, you've kind of answered it, because it's like, being on the spectrum isn't necessarily a learning difference, but if the learning difference is rooted in attention or those characteristics, can you speak to that at all?
Yeah, definitely. So we do have many students who are on the autism spectrum. And one of the things that I really enjoy about these students is they tend to be brilliant and they have a subject that they are in love with. We'll see them. I when I was in the College of Science, I would meet students who were just obsessed with astronomy and obsessed with physics. And I could listen to them all day, regardless of if I understood anything about physics, which I don't. But they just need either that support with their scheduling and time management, because sometimes that's the thing that they struggle with, or having someone to be like just structuring their day for them. And sometimes that structure can include not only you're going to class at this time, you're eating at this time, you're taking personal time at this time, and you're studying at this time. And then sometimes they've got all of that down, and it's the social that they struggle with, which is entirely understandable. So we do a lot of social interaction here as well. We do board game nights and movie nights, group hikes, and these are put on by peer mentors who are students who have been in the program at least a year. Bringing ways for our students to get involved with the SALT Center, because our entire philosophy is that we want to be a community for students to feel comfortable at a large university. So we try to hit all of those different aspects, whether it's the actual studying part, the academic part, whether it's the social part, or whether it's just, I need someone to help me figure out how to handle my day. So we try to hit all of those things, which usually is kind of the three main areas that students on the autism spectrum struggle with.
I was just going to ask you, I was going to move from the question to like, how do you serve students on the spectrum to that social piece? And you answered it for me, which makes me so happy. I feel like every college should have a SALT center, like every college. It just feels like you have done such a good job of nailing the comprehensive services that are needed for these students. I think one question I often have that I worry about, as a mom of 4 kids, and I have a neurodiversity rolling through my family's brains, but it's the housing. How sometimes this idea of college and knowing you have that support, and then there's this whole like a dorm in a tiny room with 100 square feet and the food piece and managing that. Clearly, I know that students who are college bound need to have those living skills in place, but sometimes they're going to be more complicated. Is there anything around housing that you support?
No, unfortunately. I will say the idea is that when students come to the university, that they are able to live on their own within the dorms. That being said, I know students who are on the spectrum, they have the ability to possibly request a single room if that's something they need. We do have some learning communities here on campus. So if students are interested in specifically STEM, or if they're interested, there's another learning community, and I'm so sorry I don't remember what it was, but they can be specifically in that community. Aside from that, it really is, you're in the dorms, you can rely on yourself, your RA and your roommate. We can assist with finding things like, how do you do your laundry? Let's print something out for you and let's figure out where the room is in your dorm. Here's a map of it. Here's the laundry room. Trying to navigate meal plans, our support specialists will definitely say, hey, this is what the union looks like. Here are all the different food options. And they can go through things like that if that's what the student needs. But ultimately, they do have to be able to live on their own.
That's a great answer. And it sounds like there is a lot of supports. They're just embedded in what's already kind of offered. And the student has to be able to take that feedback and be able to integrate it. Yes. What was my next question? I know, touring. If someone is interested, what are the different options for getting to know the SALT Center?
Yeah, they've got a couple different ones. So every week I offer virtual info sessions on Tuesdays and Fridays. I do one for families, and I also do one for educators if they want to be a part of it, if they're educators or counselors. We also do in-person appointments that are a part, also info sessions that we do Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday, and offering them at different times. And if those times don't work, people just have to reach out to me. I would love to sit down and meet with somebody. I'll talk their ear off about the services and getting to know the student, what it is they're interested in. I know a little bit about everything on campus, so if they have questions about campus, I love to answer them, and then I'll give them a tour of the center. So if the times that, because everything's listed on our website for information sessions, both in person and virtual, but if none of those work, reach out to me, and I would love to set up something for anybody. The only thing is we aren't open on weekends.
Okay, great. I just dawned on me, I had a question about, for those of us who have raised neurodiverse students, how do you manage parents?
That is an excellent question because it is hard. So number one, as students come to the university, they are 18. So there is a limited amount of things we can share. So number one, first and foremost, when students are getting ready, once they've applied to SALT, they've been accepted, we do an orientation in the summer called an enrollment event. During that, students are invited, families are invited, and we ask that they're on two separate devices because partway through that, students are going to break away and they get to meet with their support specialists during the summer before they even step foot on campus. That way they know someone when they even start the first day. For parents, you stay with the administration and we talk about what it's like to let go for the first time in 18 years, which can be just as stressful. And you get to ask those questions that maybe you don't want to ask in front of your student. After that, students have an option of signing a release form. That means that the support specialist can talk directly to a parent about their questions. But that does come down to what the student is willing to provide. So if they sign that, a parent can talk directly to the support specialist anytime they'd like. Otherwise, we also invite students to invite their parents to support meetings via Zoom. If that they can do a three-way, they can do a phone call. But generally, we do talk specifically to the student. One thing I will mention is that the U of A has a really good parent and family association. So within that, I am sure there are SALT support groups, and I'm so sorry, I haven't actually looked for that. It's occurring to me now that I should. But the U of A has a very, very active parent support group that I know parents will also be able to get a lot of support through.
I love that. This is great. I mean, I feel like you have done such a great job answering so many of the questions that I had. I know we talked at the beginning about scholarships and financing, and you did answer that. I did have one person in here who's just asking, so do you have anything to add about how to apply for scholarships?
Yeah, absolutely. So once you've been accepted to the University of Arizona, you have access to something called Scholarship Universe, which is the university's scholarship website. There are thousands of scholarships on there, and I always recommend, if students can, spend an hour on there every week. There are so many scholarships out there. With SALT specifically, our scholarship will open the January of a student's senior year, and the deadline to apply is April 1st of a student's senior year. You can apply anytime during that time. And I will tell you, we actually had 75 students who applied for scholarships last year. All 75 students got some kind of money. So our goal is that money should not be an issue for this program. We do look at needs, so we do look at FAFSA, but after that, we try to give as many students as much money as we can to get them into our services.
Love that. Okay, so as we finish up, can I put you on the spot to share with me your favorite principal? At the beginning, before we started today, you said that when you read the principles of the SALT program that you were so inspired and that's what led you to applying for this job. And I told you when I read the SALT principles, I pretty much got tears in my eyes. because it's just so refreshing to see a college program like that post such a strong belief system. So I read you my first one, which that was my favorite. And we'll make sure that this is included, the principles are included in all of our resources. But why don't you share a couple of yours, or what inspires you, and maybe how you see it coming to life in your program?
Absolutely. So I actually had a moment where I'm like, I want to pull it up. That way I can get the exact wording. So uh, my number one is our second principle, which is individuals become great by choice and not by chance. So part of that is we have to, number one, instill all students that they have a choice. They can go to college. They might not go to college. It's whatever they want. They can be supported and go through it. And number two is that all students can learn given the opportunity. So I have been in situations where I have had parents walking by a resource table that we do, and they go, "Oh, that's the special needs students. You don't need that." That is not true. All of our students, well, there is need. That's flat out. However, all of our students can be high achievers. We have out of the, I want to say 700 students, we have almost 90%, or sorry, almost 70% of them maintain a 3.0 or better. And it's, our students have the ability to learn. I myself was a student, I was terrible at math. And I was convinced I could not do math. And I had a lot of teachers who let me believe that all through school. And sorry. And if I just had someone who was able to look at me and say, "You're thinking differently. You don't think in numbers. You think in something totally different. And you could do this. We just have to figure out how," that would have been life changing for me. And that's our goal, is that for any student who didn't think that they were a math person, or any student who didn't believe they were a college person, that we want to be able to let them know, you just, if it's what you want, you just learn differently, and we have to figure out how we can reach you specifically. So those are the things that I came away with, that I was just so excited about, of knowing that you have a choice to do things. And if you choose to come to college, you should be supported to do that, and be told you can do that. So that's, those are my favorite principles. And that's what I really focused on when I was coming into the SALT Center, is that you don't have to not be a math person. You don't have to be stupid in math, like I've been telling myself my whole life. I just look at a board and it doesn't make sense to me because my brain is out the window. So long-winded answer to say those two things.
It's such a great way to end our 30 minutes together. And I can't wait personally to come and visit. I am definitely going to catch a Southwest flight to Tucson to come see you in the next few months for sure, because I need to get my eyes on it. And I think you've done such a beautiful job bringing it to life. And we're so grateful that you're doing the work that you're doing, and keep it up, because we need more programs like this for our students.
I agree. And I know schools are slowly realizing that this is a need, but we're here to serve about 700 students a year. And if anybody's looking to come out, just contact me and I would love to set up something for you. One thing I do really like mentioning is that the U of A offers all throughout the year several different events. They're called Arizona Experiences. Those are on Saturdays. And then Wildcat Snapshots. Those are on Fridays or Mondays and Fridays. And those are day-long events where people can come out and experience the university. The SALT Center is always going to be at all of those events. So if you are ever looking at seeing something all-encompassing, those are great days, and I will always be at those.
Wonderful. Well, I will spread the word, and I'm just super grateful for your time. And you have a beautiful day. And hopefully, the eclipse happened, I think, while we were in this meeting, or so. Yes. I'm sorry people had to miss that, but thank you for your time, and I can't wait to see you in person one day.
Yes, thank you so much for having me. This was amazing.
Thank you. Talk to you later.
Sounds good.
Bye.
Bye.